Have a good night of Shabbos, shkach to everyone. So first of all, I have to thank everyone for Machshava, so beautiful. I will tell you, like, when I first sent out the first message, so again, it was based on everybody telling me they're not going to be here. And then you know what changed the entire tide?
Emoji. Oh.
Zevi Daniels crying emoji. On
the solo tier. The single tier.
It was a single tier out of the corner. Single tier.
The one teardrop.
I'm like, Ribono Shalom,
Power of a teardrop.
I cannot be responsible for the bechia of another Yid's emoji. I can't. I don't have such broad shoulders like that. I can't do it. So just a good lesson. Just a good lesson that sometimes, again, you hear a lot of voices, but a lot of voices don't necessarily represent the rov. So Baruch Hashem, it's so beautiful. I'm so happy. Such a schus, Baruch Hashem, to be here with all of you. Originally, Rabbi Yehuda had mentioned to me that maybe tonight we should do a different limud because not everybody's here. But the truth is, I think it's a large enough crowd that we could continue Amirat Hashem with Bnai Machshava Tova. I think so. Even though I did come prepared with something else because I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what to do.
A paragraph anyway.
Yeah, that's right. They're not going to miss that much. It's a solid point, by the way. It's very solid.
It seems like only like 6 people.
I know. It's a solid point. So we're going to continue. Steve, our sponsors for tonight.
Sponsors, Yoni Frager, not for his birthday.
Not for
me, not from him. But
Yoni Frager, Ishi Weingarten, appreciation to the Rav for all the amazing shurim, and Zebi Daniel, Refuah Shlema for David and Roberta Schwartz, who were in a car accident a couple of days ago. Baruch Hashem, they're banged up and moving forward. Roberta's having surgery on Monday, outpatient. But
Outpatient surgery.
outpatient.
Little chizuk for Shlema. We love you, David, if you're listening.
L'chaim to the Schwartzes, Emir Hashem. Yish Baruch Hu should just continue to watch over them. Amen. V'asim Shalom. L'chaim. And yes, and not wishing Yoni Frager a happy birthday. Not a happy birthday. Not a happy birthday. I said,
we did not do that to see him, right?
We did, correct. So let's begin, and it's such, it's also, I think, tremendous hashkacha that we're learning tonight. This is such a overwhelming Erev Shabbos for Klal Yisrael. Overwhelming Erev Shabbos for Klal Yisrael, right? The ceasefire that's supposed to take effect 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, Eretz Yisrael time. And the release of 13 hostages. I don't know if they said 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, Eretz Yisrael time as well. And it's amazing, I don't know, I was thinking about this the whole day today, that the government notified the families of the 13 hostages who are being released. And you could imagine probably all of those families were waiting, hoping that their loved ones would be on that list. So on one hand, there's probably feelings of incredible simcha for 13 mishpachas, and then just probably compounded heartbreak. It's just such a, on one hand, there's so much simcha because 13 beautiful neshamas will be reunited with their people for this Shabbos. Literally, again, I will say, Parshas Vayetze. Parshas Vayetze. Vayetze Yaakov. Right, so Yaakov was leaving Eretz Yisrael and going to Charan. This Vayetze for Klal Yisrael is leaving the hands of our tormentors, the hands of our enemies, and coming back into Eretz Yisrael. It's just an overwhelming Erev Shabbos. An overwhelming time. In general, it's an overwhelming time for our people. Every day seems to have a different element associated with it, but especially tonight that we have the ability to come and learn Torah. So we should be zochem, and we'll say that our Torah should be a schos for every single one of the shvuyim, every single one of the hostages. The 13 should Emir Hashem come back b'shalom and b'karav, and then every last man, woman, and child should be zocha to be removed from the hands of our enemies, and Emir Hashem to be restored. L'cheik mishpachosehem b'karav. So we'll say with that, let us continue. So we are up to page 57, paragraph Tes. We actually started with this a little bit last week. So let's, as Baruch Meir said, let's try to do 2 lines tonight. Emir Hashem. We'll get through a paragraph. Emir Hashem. So Ashlosha Dvarim Hacher B'Hakadusha Medes. So let's remember again. We actually read. This was the last piece we read. I did a little bit quickly at the end of last week. So we'll revisit it tonight. This chevra, right? This group really stands on. If anyone wants Sfarim, there's still extra copies over here. If anybody wants, this chevra stands on 3 pillars. What are the 3 pillars? Al his chabros chaverim, ultimately a connection between friends. Al avas chaverim, a love of friends. Val his dabkus chaverim, and a dvekos, a clinging to friends. Now, both say. You look at this, and right at first, page 57, paragraph Tes. At first glance, we'll say when you see this, what at first glance grabs you? Friendship. But 1 and 3 seem to really be the same, right? In other words, his chabrus chaverim, which chibur means a connection between friends, and his dabkus chaverim, clinging to friends. I will say, but they're not the same things. Remember again, I will say, dibuk. That lashon is alkin yaazov ish es aviv v'imo. Man will leave his mother and father v'davak beishto. He'll cling to his wife. V'davakda b'Hashem Elokecha. You cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Chibur means a feeling of closeness. Dveikos means a feeling of oneness. Now, if you notice, by the way, the P.H. Jetson is holding over there. Also, what he's teaching us is, this is very important. Relationships are a progression. They're a progression. It's interesting. I was just talking with someone who's in Shidduchim, and this person this young man had gone out on 2 dates, and he wasn't going to go out on a 3rd date. I said, so why not? He's like, I just don't feel anything. I said, what is it? He's like, I'm not feeling it. So it was so cute. But also so naive. Like, you spend 6 hours with a person, right? You don't know them. right? At most you can know, again, I don't know, a little bit of their past, a little bit of their she'ifas, like what they want for the future, a little bit of personality. But to know someone and to have a feeling towards someone, an intense feeling that could result, that takes time. So the Piaget says it's a progression. Just hischabrus chaverim. Both say first thing is chibur, a connection to the people. Now, what does it mean to be connected to God? Both say so. What chibur, and this is incredible. Both say this is why it takes us so long to get through the sefer, because it's gold in every line. This is the key to relationships. Chibur means what chibur says is, I'm connected to you. What does it mean I'm connected to you? It means that I need you in order to be the best version of me. So you always say, there's this concept that, we have this idea that no man is an island, right? Chafetz Chaim comments, Pasuk says, not Pasuk, the Brachim, Borei Nefashos, Borei Nefashos Rabos v'chasronam. Hashem created many people, many Nefashos, and their deficiencies. That's like the worst praise I've ever heard in my life, right? Imagine, right? Dinner was great, but you know what? Next time, a little more salt, a little less pepper, and maybe, take it out of the oven just a few minutes earlier, right? Not going to go well. So, Kadosh Baruch Hu, you create many nefashos and their deficiencies. Chafetz Chaim says because it's a compliment. What's the compliment, Rabbi saying? The compliment is Kadosh Baruch Hu purposely made us deficient. Why did he make us deficient? So that I need you and you need me. If each of us was whole, then by definition, no one would need the other. And if you don't need the other, then Rabbi said there's no sense of achdus, there's no sense of community, there's no sense of unity. So hischabrus is the moment when I recognize, so I say, part of this, and this is what we're going to get into tonight, but you think about this, and you think about read the Sefer, and you're like, I love this, but the truth is, I'd rather do this alone. Right? I don't really want to do this to people because it's making yourself very vulnerable. It's talking about a lot of personal stuff. Piaget says then you're not understanding something very fundamental, which is the work we're talking about over here, you can't do on your own. The work you're doing over here requires you to go ahead and acknowledge vulnerability. Vulnerability, we'll say it's the same reason. By the way, if you notice, as far as I know, you can't do the 12-step programs online and at home. Right? Why not? You can do everything else online. Why can't you do the 12-step program online and at home? I don't think you can. Can you do a 12-step program at home?
Only during COVID.
Since COVID you can. All right, fine.
Some changed it back.
Yeah? I'm sorry? And in Canada. Okay, well, they're still in lockdown. So Lemaisa, what's the pshat? Because the truth is, there's a concept that surrounding yourself with people who are growth-oriented and specifically identify maybe some of the same struggles that you do is powerful for your own growth and rehabilitation. So we'll say that's hischabrus. Hischabrus chaverim is I acknowledge I cannot affect the change I need to affect on my own. I need other people. Let's say it's very hard for many of us to say those words. I need other people. Most of us despise saying those words and it comes from a good place. We'll say, why do people have such difficulty saying they need help? Why? Remember again, inside each of us is a neshama. The neshama is a nitzutz. It's a spark of Hashem. Chelek elokam imam, the Baal Tanya says, a piece of Hashem. The Ribono Shel Olam needs nothing. And he needs no one. So the little God spark inside of me likes to think that I need nothing and I need no one either. But it's not true. I need a chevra. I need a kehila. I need a community. I need a people. So we'll say that's hischabrus. Hischabrus is you recognize the people who you are with. It's not just the nice guys. Okay, I don't mind spending time with them, eating poppers with them. Right? No. It's that I need these people. Next, once you have hischabrus, we'll say, what does that lead to? That leads to love. That leads to avas chaverim. Because then when you realize that I need you and you need me, and that we're doing something for each other, that engenders a sense of love. And then what comes after love is dveikus. Ultimately, I will say dveikus is the process of clinging and becoming one. I will say, by the way, I'll point out to you also, this over here is also, this is the key to shalom bayis. Right? This is the key to, you could plug this in to any relation, plug it into marriage, right? In marriage, I have to recognize that I need you. once I recognize that I need you and how much you do for me, there's love. There's love. That engenders a sense of love when I see how you are mashlim, how you complete me. And then ultimately, again, that love paves the way ultimately for Devekus. Incredible. Lochein. This is beautiful. Hagam. Shekulam yischabru yachad ba'avas chaverim. Suppose they say now again, we have our group, right? We have our Bnei Machshava Tova group, and everybody's getting along, right? And everybody loves each other. The kulam yevu zela ze avaraba. Now, this is actually interesting because what it's also showing you is, Me'er Hashem, when we finish the Sefer, the goal, like I said before, is really to split into smaller groups. This only works if you're in a group with people who you love. In other words, so sometimes a person might have to say, the chevra is not the right chevra for me. We're going to see why this is necessary. Listen to this. This is wild. Mikol makom, yikach lo kol echad mehem chaver liatzmo. So even though the group is supposed to be a cohesive group, right? There's connection, there's chibur, there's ava, there's love, and there's devekus. And everybody feels a strong sense of that love and connection towards the other. But with all that, Rabbi say every person in the group has to choose yikach lo echad mehem chaver liatzmo. Every person has to choose a buddy, a chaver. Shelefanav yigala es kol matzpunei levavo. And with that buddy, right? With that buddy, you have to go ahead and what? You have to divulge all the secrets of your heart. As we'll say, again, to kind of like use our 12-step program analogy over here, this is like your sponsor. Right? This is like your sponsor. In other words, as much as there's the group, the group is great, there has to be chavrusos. There has to be chavrusos. So in the group and in life, you need someone who you could go ahead and spill your heart to. And that person is not going to be judgmental. And that person is not going to be condescending. And that person is not going to be shocked about whatever it is that you say. But you have to, I will say, now, what's the chap over here? See, I will say, if I know that there's someone in my life that I have to come clean to, right? And I'll say, that changes the way that you live. It's kind of like, imagine for a moment, people have this, where imagine every day, your wife gets a report on your internet search history. It's a good thing to have. Good tool to have. Keeps you honest. Unless I'm sure there's a workaround somehow, whatever. I say, in other words, nothing, right? Nothing is a better guarantee for Shmiras Hayinayim, for watching what you look at and watching what you're exposed to, than having someone else seeing the full list of all the stuff you did on the internet that day. It's an accountability, but it's also a vulnerability. So I will say it's an incredible idea over here that you have the group, but together with the group, everybody's got to take a chavrusa. Everybody's got to take a person with this is your buddy. And again, it's reciprocal. I'm going to be willing to make myself vulnerable and tell you everything that I'm struggling with. And you're going to make yourself vulnerable and tell me everything that you're struggling with. So incredible. Bein dvarim ruchniim, whether it's struggles with ruchnius, bein dvarim gufniim, or whether it's physical things. Da'agaso v'simchas, I'm going to share the things I worry about, and I'm going to share the things that I'm joyful about. Nifilaso v'aliyaso, I'm going to share my failures, I'm going to share my successes. V'chavero hashomea, I will say, what's the job of the listening buddy? Right, the listening buddy, what does he do? Yenachamehu, he should console him. The first thing is, I will say, when someone messes up, the first thing you need to do for them is comfort them. That's the first job of the listening buddy. Right? Comfort, v'yatzeu, but also give advice, v'yismecheu, and cheer them up. I will say it's incredible. The job of the listening buddy is not to beat you down. Right? Because no one ever, I'll say it's important, so we know this because many of us have experienced this. When you mess up and someone beats you down because of your failure, no one ever says, wow, that was such a good beat down. Now I really want to do better. Right? No one ever does that. Instead, what people usually do is after they're beaten down and scolded and berated and belittled, they usually just stay down. That's usually the way that it happens. So the Maisa, in the aftermath of failure, the best way to get a person to effect a turnaround is to build them up. This was the derech, this was the derech of Aaron HaKohen. Right? The Gemara says that Aaron HaKohen, what was his derech? Aaron HaKohen, when he knew that someone had committed an Aveira, he wouldn't confront them with the Aveira. Instead, what would he do? He would make sure to run into the person, and he would tell them what a great person they were. And he would sing all of their praises, and they would leave, and they would say, oh my gosh, Aaron thinks I'm so great. if he knew what I did behind closed doors, can't even imagine. But because they left that encounter with the positive encouragement from Aaron HaKohen, they had the koach to build themselves back up. So we'll say this is incredible. So the Piaget says you have to have your buddy, you have to have your chavrusa within the chabura. So we'll say there's the chabura, right? And the chabura as a whole is built on these three pillars of chibur, ahava, and dvekos. Those are the three pillars. But then within the chabura, everyone has to have their own chavrusa, their own person with whom they connect. The job of that person is to listen. My job is to make myself vulnerable enough to say all the stuff that's going well and all the stuff that's not going well. So my listening buddy should give me chizik for the stuff that's going well, but he should also give me chizik for the stuff that I messed up with. And he goes on, he says, v'chein zeh lo zeh. Rabbi saying they do this for each other, right? Remember again, it's not the pshat that that's why the sponsor example is not a good mashal, right? Because the sponsor is always the sponsor. What's the other guy called? There's the sponsor. Who's the other guy? Who? Sponsee? Is that really? Sponsee? Yeah. Okay. Sounds like a foreign country. Right, the sponsees are here. Okay, fine, the sponsee. All right, good. Right, so I'll say, so this is what's interesting, right? So this is what's fascinating over here. So again, in that relationship, it's one direction. In this, I'll say, in this relationship, it's both directions. In other words, one isn't the successful guy and the other guy struggling guy. We're all struggling. So today, I'll be the listener and you'll be the divulger. And tomorrow, I'll be the divulger and you'll be the listener. And now, we're mechazik each other. We'll say, I don't know. I've never had an experience like that. But imagine having a friend like that. A friend like that. A chaver like that. Who you just bare your soul with all the stuff that's going right, all the stuff that's going wrong. And that person listens and doesn't judge you and doesn't look down on you. But that person is just there to go ahead and give you chizik. That's it. That's the entirety. And again, and your reverse roles, yes.
So, is this, I feel like from my own personal experiences, I'm more likely to have that sort of relationship with a rabbinical figure than I would be with my chaver? Is it am I having my relationships
I think you could have, here's, the answer is yes, that's fine. In other words, I think it's common for a person that when they are troubled by something, they look to a leadership figure to help them, because what am I doing? I'm looking for answers. This is not looking for answers. That's the interesting part. This is allowing me to take an accounting of what's going on in life. I don't need the other guy to have the answers. The truth is, the other guy probably doesn't have the answers, because remember, today, I'm divulging to him, and tomorrow, he's divulging to me. And by the way, his stuff might be 10 times worse than my stuff, right? So I'm like, buddy, you are in no position to give me any eights over here, right? But that's the beauty of it. We're not sharing in order to get answers. We're sharing in order to be honest, in order to make ourselves vulnerable, and in order to acknowledge, because only through vulnerability do you truly come to growth, right? In other words, if I don't make myself vulnerable and admit that a ton of stuff is broken, there's no growth. There's no growth. So that's the incredible part of it. You see, we're used to divulging as a process or as a means to get answers. This is just divulging for the sake of becoming an honest, introspective, growth-oriented person. It's just incredible. It's just such a fascinating model. But the ability to have someone with whom you are so safe and secure that you could do that. But of course, where does the safety and security come from? Where does it come from? Because wherever you're doing it to, what's going to happen? That person is going to reciprocate. So he goes on, he says, listen to this, V'chein zelazeh, v'im nishar echad min acharvia she'ein echad mehem, rotzel eschabra elav lo'ay prati. It's interesting. What happens if there's a guy in the Chaburah, nobody wants to be his buddy? See, this doesn't just happen in second grade, right? In other words, this happens with adults also. No, and we'll say, by the way, and you could see that. You can see that because remember, this requires a heightened level of comfort. In other words, you can't trust. You can't do this with a stranger. I have to do this. I have to do this with someone who, first of all, I believe in their, what's the word, confidential, discretion. I'm going to share very personal things with you, right? I don't want to see you tweeting, about it, the next moment, or what do they call it? No, it's not tweeting. What is it? Xing? Whatever. Yeah, Xing. Right? Is it called tweeting? Still tweeting.
Still tweeting.
Xing. Okay, good. So let's say So Lamaisa, right? So Lamaisa, the point over here is what happens. So look what he says. What happens if there's someone in the Chaburah that no one wants to be their partner? So look what he writes. He says, Muchracha hachavria litein lo echad mehen. That's the answer. We'll say if somebody doesn't want to be his partner, what's the answer? Someone has to be his partner. Wow.
Rabbi.
Right, because of the rabbi. Always draw the short straw.
So
right?
easy.
Always draw the short straw.
I'll bite my tongue.
Yeah, you're talking.
I want to say it like 20 minutes ago.
It's rabbi. So listen to what's happening over here. This is what is this saying? I will say, and by the way, this line on its own is also just a profound line, just in Achdus. Both say it's important to understand. Like everybody loves Achdus, right? Everybody loves Achdus. Until when? Until like there is a person who is annoying, and there is a person who is upsetting, and there's a person who I just don't want. So we'll say, what's the answer to that? Go and figure it out. Right? What happens when your child comes home from school, right? And you say, "Oh, I'm not getting along with this one, not getting along." So I don't know. Today you probably, I don't know, send them to therapy. But Lamaisa, right? It used to be what would happen if a kid came home and said, I'm not getting along with this one. What do you do? In the good old days in the shtetl, what did they do? Figure it out. Life is about figuring stuff out. And even when you're young, right? People who are young, who learn to figure stuff out, become adults who learn to figure stuff out. So the P isn't how I will say, you're a Chaburah, you don't like that guy, right? No one wants to be with Shimon over there, right? No one likes him. Somebody's going to learn to like him, and not the rabbi, right?
It's not telling you like him; it's telling you to divulge.
Correct. You need to bring him in. Now, obviously, again, you're talking about a situation where, people don't want it because the guy, is a blabbermouth or something like that. Okay, so that's a different kind of situation. But Lamaisa, not everybody is likable. Just figure it out. I will say, I just want to point out, this is why the Piaget says Areba. I will say, in one little paragraph, there's gold. This is like hitting buried treasure over here, but it's not buried, right? It's obvious. It's like laid out right in front of us because it's not just about how to structure the Chaburah. This is what I would say. In other words, if you learn the Sefer and you never made a Chaburah of Bnai Machshava Tova, you never made your own group, there's still the life lessons are incredibly, incredibly amazing. Good. Let's go weiter. Yud. You still have a couple minutes? Okay, good. We still have a few minutes. Good. We're good. So Yud. Yes.
Indicating that in order to reach the goals set out here, you need to have this type of tevra, or is it more of reaching this goal creates this type of tevra?
I think it's the first.
It's not indicative or clear.
I think it's the first because remember what the Piaget did. The reason I think why it might look unclear is because we're only talking about the chevra at the end of the sefer. We learned all of this stuff, right? We learned all of this stuff, and the truth is, you see a lot of this stuff, and you're like, I don't know, I could do this on my own. I think I can handle a lot of this stuff. And now he's introducing the chevra, but the truth is, his entire premise is everything we learned could only be accomplished in the chevra. Now, again, can you accomplish certain things to certain degrees by yourself? I think you can, but I think what the Piaget would say is to gain the full impact of the framework of growth that I'm outlining for you requires a Chaburah. And requires a Chaburah as I am setting it up now, right? He's not just talking about guys getting together. I understand, what is the Piaget really describing over here? What is this Chaburah? What is it? It's a support group. It's a support group, I was saying. It's a support group. What do people who undergo traumatic life circumstances? I was just having a conversation with a woman the other day, who was widowed a number of years ago, and she said a person who's been through a lot in life, and she said to me, she's like the one piece that she feels that is missing from her healing process is a support group. She's like, I've gone to therapy and I've done a lot of good work and this, but I feel like I would gain so much sitting in a room of people who have a shared experience. Even though we know every loss is different, right? There's no such, we know this, right? You could have two people who both lost a parent, but those losses are worlds apart. This one liked his parent. This one didn't like his parent. Right? This one spoke to his father. This one didn't speak to his father. This one was a dutiful son. This one was a derelict son. But you have a shared experience of the loss of someone who is close to you. So also what the PHS says, this is a support group. This is a support group. This is a support group of people who want to grow together, but understand that growth, Rabbi say, is on one hand the easiest thing in the world because there's a million opportunities at our fingertips every single day, but it's the hardest thing in the world also because we are so frail, we are often so weak, we make so many mistakes, so many missteps, and often we just lose our footing. So this mamish is a support group. So again, to Rabbi Yaakov's point, could you accomplish certain tenets of the PhD that's not on your own? Sure. But the full impact of it, only with the Chaburah. Yes.
The reason why I asked that is it feels to me that finding not only a friend that has all these prerequisites, let alone a group, is very difficult and can only be done.
First of all, on behalf of this entire group, we're offended. We're offended at that statement. Right? I'm kidding. Go ahead. Yeah. To find.
Nobody's going to be his partner.
To create that sort of environment that allows for that vulnerability and for that support requires the work being done. So it almost feels to me like one has to come with the other.
Yaakov, I think that you are looking at this group as a group of tzaddikim. But if you notice from the beginning, what is the Piagetna said that this group, what are the qualities of being in this group? Essentially, you have to be a person who wants to grow. It doesn't say anything about how many hours they have to learn. It doesn't say anything about your midos. You just have to be a person who wants to grow and wants to become the best version of yourself.
I think on an individual level, that's fine. I think that it requires a separate sort of work to be the type of friend that can listen and
100%
vulnerability and not be judgmental.
And by the way,
and create that sort of comfort where that person can open up.
Agreed.
And that can't that doesn't happen just on its own, and that requires also shared experiences, shared goals. And shared, like Reddy said,
I agree with you 100%.
Of growth.
Right. I agree with you 100%. This last piece is the hardest piece. So again, one can make the argument that this type of Chaburah is not for everyone. It may not be for everyone. Right? In other words, you definitely have to preside. Right? Not everybody is a good listener. Not everybody has the ability not to be totally judgmental. Not everybody has the ability not to berate someone when they hear they did something wrong. You're 100%. By the way, not everybody has the ability to be fully honest with someone else. A lot of, I think most of us, right, if we were to sit down, even with someone who we love very much and trust very much, and that person said, okay, tell me everything, I'd be like, yeah, the turkey was great. Right? And I'm not telling you everything. There's no way. Not because I don't trust you, but just because, I don't think I'm ready to divulge that level of information.
Question is, somewhere in here does it talk about having a facilitator?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. There has to be. Now, here's what's interesting. We're going to see yes and no. One of the things that the Piagetna highlights is there's no leader of the group. Right. There's no group leader. And he says, that's why he says, by the way, that sometimes he says, even if Rabbanim are in the group, the Rav is not the leader. There's no leader, right? All men are created equal in the Bnai Machshava Tova. That being said, you may have to have a facilitator. We're gonna see that in just a little bit. Well, I'll say one more line. I got through one whole paragraph. Right, good. Yud.
The daf is long, like this morning, right?
I'm sorry, the daf. It's not me. It's the Sefer. Thank you, Steve. It's not me. Right, not me. Not me. A line Yomi, yeah, sure Yomi. Although paragraph Yomi, good. Or this is weekly. Bnei Achavia. We'll say, here we go. Next, paragraph Yud. Bnei Achavia. Lo yisapru v'lo yifarsamu b'shukim u'b'rechavos min achavia kidoshazu teracham ma'asal. He'll say, this is a private initiative. In other words, you don't talk about the Bnei Machshava Tova Chaburah. Whereas once you're part of a Chaburah, which I both say, by the way, now it makes sense, right? It makes sense because there's like a lot of personal stuff. And if done right, there's a lot of personal things that are unfolding in the context of this Chaburah. So therefore the Piagetz says the derech is, you don't speak about it publicly. You don't, again, somebody asks you, don't have to deny it, right? But Lamaisa, it's not something that is publicized, not in the marketplaces or in the streets, right? Or about the Chaburah itself, or even about how the Chaburah operates. Right? Again, it's quiet. It's quiet. Lo yisparu ba le'enei zulasam. We'll say for the simple reason, by the way, you understand that it could also so easily descend into something negative if viewed as what? Some type of spiritual elitism. Right? Can you imagine? Yeah, we're members of Bnai Machshava Tova Chaburah. Oh, you want in? You know what? Enrollment doesn't open until next January, right? You know, like open enrollment. Just like the Piaget said, just again, this is personal work, and as personal work, it should stay personal. Ki kimosh aluchos hashnios achamos lanu. Shabbos is incredible. Amar Hakadosh Baruch Hu ein lecha yafa min atznios. Shabbos said the Gemara is quoting over the Gemara. The Gemara says we'll have to stop with this. But the Gemara says as follows. The Gemara says that what was the difference between the first set of luchos and the second set of luchos? There are a number of differences, but the first set of luchos were given ultimately in public, bapumbi, right, with a lot of fanfare. The second, right, again, the lightning, the thunder, the cloud, all this kind of stuff. The second tablets were given in a much quieter, modest fashion. The first tablets were shattered. The second tablets endure to this day, wherever they are. Endure to this day. So the Gemara says, you see from here that things that occur in a modest fashion have a greater durability, have a greater life to it. Things that often occur with a lot of fanfare and a lot of publicity, often and unfortunately, they break apart. They unravel. He goes on. He says, "Amar Hakadosh Baruch Hu, ein l'chalev min atznius, kimo she'azar Hakadosh hizgal rak b'maras Rashbi u'midbarios b'atznei." Both say this is incredible, right? Where ultimately, again, where did Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai acquire the vast reservoir of esoteric knowledge that we call Zohar? Where did he acquire it? Both say not in the public base medrash, right? In a cave. Great things come from modest beginnings. And great things come from quiet circumstances. When there's a lot of fanfare, when there's a lot of publicity, things tend to kind of fizzle out. But where there's tznius, where there's modesty, ultimately, again, enduring spiritual greatness occurs. V'china Kabbalah nikra sod, and ultimately, again, Kabbalah itself, ultimately, is goes. Rabbi, we'll stop over here for today. We'll pick up in Mir Hashem with that piece about Rashbi next week, Rabbi say. Tremendous, Yashakayach. Tremendous, I will say. Again, such a schus. Thank you again. Shkayach to the crying emoji. Shkayach to all of you, I will say. And again, please take food. We're going to daven Ma'ariv in the main shul. Amazing.